Welcome to Help the Helpers on Easter Monday. And we have a smaller group this morning, but it looks like a very sort of relaxed group. To me, anyway, it looks like many of the places have much less traffic and people sort of having a holiday spirit. So it's a wonderful day to talk about life force, spring, life force. I'm appreciating everybody's colors this morning. And we're so happy to have Sophie, who's been with us from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And given much inspiration group and creativity, and there's a wonderful smile that you have, Sophie, that says more than I could say with my introduction. That it's just welcoming and up for what we're going to be doing. Sort of the feeling of, wow, we're going to do something special, and here we are together. And it's a wonderful feeling that you exude. So welcome, and let's get started.
Thank you, Lynn. That's wonderful. Love to hear that what you said, this inspiration and the smile. That's lovely. Thank you. Well, I kind of chose that topic on an impulse. And then, sometimes when we do things on an impulse, right? Then there's a little like, why did I choose this? I don't know anything about this. What am I going to say about this? And then so I got curious, what teased my curiosity. And one of the main thing is my cousin Jean-Michel, who passed away beginning of February, was like a brother to me. And he was a life force. And I felt his life force in me as trust and faith in life. He remained conscious all the way until the end. And he had this force to orient his mind toward life and the wonder of life and love. Love was a big energy he was with, even though the condition of his livings were really difficult. So it's always possible, even though in those conditions, with those conditions. That's what I got from him. So that's what got me curious again about life force. And this Monday group that sometimes I call my Monday tribe is a source of life force to me, and it's really cool that it happens on Monday morning too, at the beginning of the week. It's like a spring, like this season, right? We start again. I can begin again with a sense of feeling like people are heard. We're trying our best to listen, to support each other, to hear all the diversity of voices, and to hold even when it's different. That's how I feel this Monday morning group is. So you are source of life force to me. So what is this life force? It's kind of visible at times. It's invisible at other times. It is a vitality. There is a French philosopher, Henri Bergson, that was very influential in France. He's from the 19th century. And he's described it as élan vital, which could be translated in English as vital impulse, life impulse. And he talks about life force as a creative principle that helps us evolve, or that is responsible for evolution, even more than help us, is responsible for evolution. I kind of like that way of seeing life force. So in the Collins Dictionary, it says life force is an animating principle that separates living from non-living things. I like to share one of my paintings that speaks of life force. Let me see if I can get that. I experience life force as kind of being inspired, the light shining through, some aliveness in the texture of life. That's what this painting kind of showed me. I'm going to stop sharing it. And so there are different sources where we can plug in into this life force in the universe. And one of them for me is really creativity. When we get inspired, right? Like this group is inspiring to me. I may get inspired by a word that somebody said. I still remember the way you described, Lynn, the word responsibility as our ability to respond. That gave me some life force. That now I see this word this way, my ability to respond. Love is life force. Love in the big sense of the term. Sometimes people call it loving kindness. Caring is a life force in the universe. Of course, going for walks or nature, or animals around us. Oxygen, taking a breath. Somebody last week, I think, Clara talked about the breath of life. That kind of described life force to me. Honoring our emotions, honoring our felt senses, that can give us life force. That little shift, movement forward is life force. Of course, laughing, right? Connecting. One day I was driving and thinking about this reflection, and I saw some trucks parked on the side, and on the trucks there was the name of the company that you may know that I've never seen before. It's called Ever Energy Source. And it felt like, oh yeah, that's what life force is. This force in the universe that's there, that doesn't belong to us, that goes through us, that kind of expresses itself in multiple, infinite ways through our individual forms. And it can be small, like the song of a bird, the soul in an object that comes maybe from somebody that carried life force for us, or big like the Alps or the Yellowstone, right? Where there's so much sacredness and life force that some indigenous people I hear would only go there at certain time because it's sacred. So I kind of had this little discovery for myself that may be a little out there, but I feel like life force is this energy that connects us, through which we are all interconnected. That animates all of us, and in a way it makes us interconnected and it makes us one. I got that concept of we are one with it. I'm curious to know how that resonates for you, but that's what came alive in me. I want to read, I found a poem from Rumi about life force. And he wrote, "There is a life force within your soul. Seek that life. There is a gem in the mountain of your body. Seek that mind. O traveler, if you are in search of that, don't look outside. Look inside yourself and seek that." Wow, I had a movement inside. I just, oops. Rumi came through me. So I love that poem. I know Dorothy has another loving poem for us about life force as love that we will hear at the end. But anyone, I was wondering if anyone care to share something about how life force manifests in you, and yeah, how it shows up for you. If somebody has something they want to say about it, please feel free.
It shows up in me when I am awed by something, such as a beautiful sunset or a constellation of stars in the night sky. I feel an awe about that, and that's how life force shows up in me sometimes.
Thank you, Bob. Yes, when I am in awe, this big awe, it's amazing. Yes, so true. Here's the sun.
Wow, it's a beautiful, beautiful picture.
Thank you.
That picture represents a life force to me, Sophie. I just want to melt inside of it. There's something about it that's just draws me right in and
Absolutely.
awakens something in me. It's really
Mm.
beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, it does wake us up, right? It gives us this kind of vitality, the spring in our step in the morning. Or a centeredness, a connectedness with our true self. I think there was June who wanted to say, and I think Lenore, yeah, June.
I feel life force whenever I see a child, a little child, like especially the ones 4 or 5 and under, like even babies in their carriages when they're being pushed down my street. I mean, you just see the beginnings of life force, every time I look at a child.
Yes, it's so strong, isn't it? Sometimes when they come in a room or a baby come in a room, there is this amazing something that
Energy.
that most of us feel. That opens us. Thank you. Lenore, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to say, first of all, your painting really struck me. I felt the life, the energy in your painting. It was so alive. It was like sparkles, It was just, I felt it immediately. It was really a great description of life energy that I felt in my body. I feel that life force when I have a sense of being in touch with the divine. somehow when I'm doing yoga or when I'm dancing. It's just an automatic physicality that happens in my body. And I think there's something about movement that brings it out, gets away from your head somehow.
Yeah. Mm. Yes, in our body, like Rumi was saying, there is a gem in the mountain of your body. Seek that mind. Yes, yes. Yeah, and have those moments of movement where we feel that movement of life, that breath of life, that divine, energy. Thank you, Lynn. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Yes, Mary.
Little seedlings starting from a seed and reaching every time I have to turn because they reach for the light, that reaching, that knowing. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Mary. Yes, like we were saying before, I think everybody was here about spring being this amazing life force, this like full vitality that comes from what seemed not alive, right? From Earth, the depths of Earth.
And your painting reminded me of a banner that I saw in church yesterday, and it had a very stylized figure reaching up, and it said, "Can't keep it in." Yeah, bursting from the tomb. Can't keep it in.
Can't keep it in. Wow. Sometimes it is that way, right? Sometimes we can't keep it in. Oh, I think somebody else wants to say something. BJ.
Good morning, everybody. It's always just such a pleasure when I get to be. I like tribe, Sophie. That was a lovely way to describe the feeling. What Mary just said prompted me to say, people who see birth are just blown away. And the same is true really for those of us who are privileged to be with people when they die. There's this astonishing conviction that just arises in me. And at first it's the question, where did he go? Where did she go? This conviction that there's something that remains, and that the body is here, and there's this just conviction in me that the life went someplace. It didn't end. And that whole notion, of course, a deep meaning in the tradition around Easter, that the life force doesn't stop just because the body stops. And who knows whether any of this is true? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be true for us to believe it and be given more life by the belief. So that's what I wanted to say. And thank you for your presentation this morning, Sophie. The authenticity of it and the sense that you're really just speaking from the essence of who you are. So thank you.
Thank you, BJ. BJ or BG? BJ. BJ. Thank you, BJ.
Yeah.
Yes, so true. The birth and the death and this life and this intensity that happened at those moments. Accompanying Jean-Michel, my cousin, it was extraordinary in this extra and ordinary way. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
We do
Paul-
also-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Nancy.
We had 4 little children in our house yesterday. And to, the power of life was so alive in them. They were just running and excited and playing. And it was just so wonderful to observe the pleasure of them enjoying one another's company. And even the little one, when he was tired, was just taking everything in and never cried like little ones do when they are tired. But it also made me think of the life energy that I had as a child. I think when I was frightened of different things as a little child, but I had a life force that kept struggling and fighting, and I fought whatever it was that I was frightened of, and just kept on going. So it was a very strong life force that was very much alive there and kept me going. So it just made me aware of that more.
I just want to say, Nancy, that we see that in you. You know, that's so you, that life force, and that little one in you just bursting forth. I wanted to say that it's the life force for me goes so with surprise. Every spring that things just burst forth, and it's so surprising. Like, how does this happen? It felt like a winter day yesterday, bright and cold, with all of these blossoms just insisting on the season changing and new life coming. And I'm always so surprised.
Surprised. Yeah. It can take us by surprise. Yes. And it can be really strong. And
My
spring
favorite
is
season.
such a surprise. Sorry, somebody was talking.
I'm sorry, I just added my favorite season.
Yes.
Right.
And sometimes our life force feels blocked, right? Sometimes it's diminished. Sometimes life circumstances kind of blocks it. It feels like it's not there. I definitely felt a very much diminished life force after my cousin died, beginning of February. And during a focusing, I was kind of being with that. And I had this image of a dam, D-A-M, inside. And it was kind of a protective part in me that was afraid that if I would open the gate, open the dam, I would not be able to do my week, to function. Once it got reassured, it opened up and I had more tear flowing than I didn't know I still had. And then I recovered some life force. So sometimes life force is diminished or dimmed, or sometimes by illness or by losses, or criticism, self-judgment, fear, doubt are other ways that it can take some life force away. The good thing is that we can plug back in. And I guess that's what feels so exciting to me, that it is everywhere, it is there, and we can plug in like plugging into a socket and recharge our batteries. That's wonderful to know that. And there are many ways, like some of you already mentioned, nature springing forth, being in movement, a child, birth. Being was death and birth. And I love what you just said. It doesn't matter if it's true, why we believe it. It gives us life force. That's interesting. So there are many practices like Qigong, Tai Chi, right, yoga, that really are based on helping us to plug in into this life force. I think a gratitude practice is like a chi plug for me, to remind myself, oh, there's this beautiful little flower right here, and I have this object that Jean-Michel gave me that came from his home, that little vessel that maybe in France was before to put mustard in, I think. It has this little spoon. Anyhow, it carries life force. So when we let go of our limiting belief too, I had this big limiting belief that nobody would understand me when I speak words. It did orient me toward painting, which I'm very grateful for. But I don't have that limiting belief today. But it really was taking a lot of life force away and holding myself back a lot was my words. Paying attention to what's alive in us, I think really plugs us into vitality and or nature in us, the nature in us, or true nature. Sometimes I have this belief that if we could synchronize more with the life force all around us, with that pulse, if our pulse could synchronize with that pulse, would it bring more force, life force in the world? I wonder about that. So we have a choice, right? We have a choice to be conscious about this life force and to cultivate it. And as helpers, it's a way to restore, and it's a way to be resilient. If we keep plugging into life force, we got to be resilient to be there as helping forces. And so when we interact with life force, more happen, right? There's this life forward, this movement forward that happens. I think felt sensing is plugging into life force. I think Lynn was this amazing source of life force, his philosophy, his ideas. It was a rebirth for me. It really helped something in me birth again or birth out. Definitely connect me with the life force in my words. So I have a little attunement for us now, and I'm going to invite you to greet what's there, like we usually do, and then take a little walk in your space. And if that doesn't feel right to walk right now, feel free to walk in your mind's eye. That's fine too. But we're going to take a little walk and be in interaction with the life force that's around us. Is there anything somebody feel like they want to say before, or have question? I think Sashi.
Is felt sense a life force?
To me, it is. That's to me when I'm felt sensing, or when somebody is resonating my felt sense, or I feel a life force. I feel a shift, and it gives me life force. I feel like I can move forward. Yeah. To me,
I feel like felt sense is a life force, but sometimes it's in the recesses of your body and mind. It's in the recesses of your body. It's like tucked in there.
in the recesses, tuck in there. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. So we read, somebody else, Jen.
I really love your, first of all, your painting is absolutely spectacular. Thank you. Your metaphor of there be feeling like there was a dam inside. And I really resonate with that. And it's very helpful to know, because sometimes when things happen and, you know, maybe I get down or nothing, I can feel, I'm thinking as you're talking that it's that life force that's somehow got, I don't know, maybe as Shashi said, it got into the recesses somewhere, but it's hiding and I'm not feeling it. And oh, this must be the beginning of the end, and da da da. And this to have that image of the dam, it means it can be temporary, and I can find a way to open that dam and have that life force flowing again. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. Really, that's one of the things I felt with Jean-Michel, my cousin, as he was struggling with cancer and on his journey to dying, and like we are all the close for him. There was still this life force there animating him. And sometimes he would ask himself, you know, my eyes open and I'm asking myself, wow, I am alive again. I'm still alive. I'm here. What is it that keeps me here? Sometimes he was wondering. And he had life project, writing project in his mind all the way until the end. I got surprised when he actually died. We were in contact every day, pretty much every day the last year. And for 2 days before he passed away, I didn't, I couldn't, he didn't respond. We were on WhatsApp, right? He's in France. And I got shocked. I got surprised, even though I was accompanying him for 3.5 years, because he was so alive still 2 days ago. It was hard to believe that his life force had gone from his body. It's still there, but it has gone from his body, from his form. So, all right. Ready for a little attunement? Okay. So, taking a moment to maybe sit back into your chair, closing your eyes if that feels comfortable, shutting down your video if that feels better too. Feel free to do that. And then saying hello, hello inside. Reading what's there. Welcoming. Bringing in this welcoming, curious attitude, this focusing attitude that we know. Gently greeting what's here. And I'd like to invite you to gently ask yourself if there is anything between you and feeling alive right now. What's between me and something sensing the alive in this moment? Just greeting that with also some curiosity. And if nothing is in between you and feeling alive, just delight in that aliveness. Savoring it. And if there is something in between you and aliveness, just being curious about that in a gentle way. Mhm. So in a moment, we will begin our gentle walking, but just take a moment to thank whatever you received. And if something needs more attention, just let it know you can return to it later. And as you're ready, ever so gently, you may want to stand up, and if there is a stretch that wants to be there, as you stand up, please feel free to stretch as you stand up. And take a moment to look around in your space, maybe looking around as if it's a new beginning. Like you looking at it with new eyes, with the eyes of a child. And now I'd like you to start gentle walking if you haven't started yet. Mindfully and perhaps a little slower than how you walk usually, if that feels right, of course. And as you take a step in your space, see what you meet, what you encounter, what comes to interact with you that is alive. Maybe it's light shining through a window. Maybe it's a plant, an animal. Noticing that life around you. And perhaps sensing its energy. And I'd like to invite you to pause with something that attracts you or something that pulls you closer. And taking a pause in interaction with it. And sensing each other. Maybe that aliveness, that force, that vitality, that something. And perhaps allowing a bodily first sense of that exchange. How do you carry that in your body right now? And perhaps there is a word, a gesture, a sound, a smell, something that captures it for you in this moment. And gently, as you're ready, walking back to your seat if you're not there yet. Taking your time. And if you want, you're welcome to take a moment to capture that by writing a word or making a shape or continuing moving, sounding, just for a minute or so. So welcome back to a big room. And I was reminded that humor is life force.
What was that?
Humor.
Oh,
Humor.
Yes, yes.
I was reminded by Jim. I hope that's okay, Jim, to say. Okay. Yes, humor is life force. So I'm curious to hear anything you'd like to say about your experience in your breakout room or your experience during that little attunement and walk. And I have a little, I hope it's going to be a good surprise. I have a little surprise. I want to keep a little time for a few minutes for a little surprise where we will collectively share some words about life force in a together. So I'll let you know more about it. But let's open the floor for some sharing.
I'll just say I felt very understood and appreciated by my group. Thank you so much. And more life force here. Katerina and Anna say, right?
Yeah, when we feel seen, appreciated, heard, it really helps us be with this, with more life force. Yeah. So true.
one of the things that a question that got sort of played out a little more for me was, how does the life force get expressed through me, particularly? You know, and we had a great discussion about most or all three of us actually had a writing influence that we needed to write after. We needed to write our experience in order to hold on to it. Yeah.
So would you say, Mary, that it was manifesting through writing in at that moment.
And in the larger, you know, in our whole, we can't do everything, you know. So we're all given some life force. What do we do with it? How does it best get expressed through us, particularly? Yeah.
What do we do with it? Yeah. BJ, you light up.
No, I didn't mean to.
I would like to add to what Mary said, that it's like the sharing here in the big group and in your sharing and what you brought, Sophie, this big theme, the life force, just the sharing makes it even richer, bigger, more felt. And it's like the writing, when I'm feeling this sense of awe, of immensity, of grandiosity, I need to write because there's something that is overwhelming in me, and I need to put it out there somewhere. and in a way I was feeling this parallel between the writing and this sharing here, because as we, again, in the big group and in the small group, with the sharing of each one of us, I could feel this life force even more in me. So it's this getting together like this, it's like, wow, we are enriching this life force together. So thank you, Sophie, for bringing this, and everybody.
Thank you, Mary. Really, I feel that too. More life force when we are together.
Also, I was thinking when we were talking before about how the life force can get blocked or drained by circumstances, and then we have to plug back in. I was thinking that when we encourage other people and we see the life force in them, that's also a way of plugging ourselves in, that we can sometimes see it more in someone else than we can in ourselves when we're discouraged. And we see this, or we see this little tipping point, that if you say these words of encouragement or noticing, and it plugs that energy right in.
Yeah, so true. That noticing can plug us in, right back in. Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say that I had a delightful conversation with Pauline. Really beautiful.
With who? You were with Pauline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pauline here. Oh, that's great. Yeah, the little breakout room can really does something different. Yeah.
It could be heaven or hell.
What did you say, Gwen?
I said it could be heaven or hell.
It could be, oh, heaven or hell.
Today was heaven.
Heaven. Yeah. Yeah, we were also talking in our breakout room how to accept, right? Come to this place of accepting life force, that maybe life force even doesn't feel pleasant, or yeah, that life force could feel painful.
I think the term we used was painfully alive in that situation.
Painfully alive. Thank you. Yeah, Bob, exactly. Painfully alive.
Or also grief. It's very alive. but yeah.
Painful.
Mm.
So are we, yeah.
Sophie, I was just going to say, talking about grief and painfully alive. So I've had a lot of losses in my life. And whenever I'm losing my connection, when I feel so much grief, that I'm losing my connection to the things that I most love, let's say, I do the walking meditation, so you made us walk today. And I said, oh my God, that's like my go-to place. So, I practice Zen Buddhism, and at the Zendo, we do Kenya. And after we sit, we do the slow walking. And the slow walking has always been my play. So I'll do the slow walking, and I'll do things slowly, like wash the dishes and smell the soap, just to ground myself back into the present moment and the present life. And I know that grief is an act of love, and I know that it feels very palpable in those few moments in the beginning. It feels so palpable, but then it kind of just simmers, and you go on with your life. But I recently lost my little dog. She was 14, and we could talk about like regular death, like there's a funeral, there's things, but when you lose a pet, there's nothing. It's just your pet is gone. The next day you're like, where is she? And you cannot, and the routine you had is gone. Even my little other dog is missing her. But I decided I would just experience that grief and that loss, because I bought my little dog for my husband who was dying, and she was a life force to him. And he stayed around for like 2.5 years, because he just became alive and became very androgynous and loving with this little tiny little dog. And so she had like this back love story with him. And so I do the walking meditation, and I've been doing that more. So thank you so much. When I did it today, I felt my grief, that I could hold it in a different way, in a loving way, not so bittersweet, painful, but just in a loving, compassionate way.
Mm. Thank you, Anne, for what you shared. Yeah, it does make a big difference for me too, when I can be holding my pain or my grief in a loving, compassionate way. It really shifts things around. And I can really connect with what you said. When we lose our animal or pets, there's sometimes people don't understand, and there's nothing. And I'd be happy to share a book I made. I made an art book about that when I lost my second cat. And it was in honor of her, and also honor of this grief that's often not acknowledged. So if you're interested, you can email me. I'll be happy to share some images. I mean, I'd love to share in person. It's a book, but I can share some images. So I'd like us to end, before Dorothy read the poem, with what I call a mosaic, a collective mosaic of our words. So a little bit like we are a collective of boxes here. There is a frame, right? Like in a mosaic, there is some frame. I'd like us to start with when life force flows, ... And each person who wants to share now would start the sentence, when life force flows. And then you say some words. It can be one or a few, whatever has come to you today in your experience, or what's alive in right this moment when you say that sentence, to trust that. And we will pop in like popcorn as you feel inclined to, and pop in as, when you want to. And maybe there's only a few of us, or maybe all of us will share. So I'll start. When life flows, I feel between earth and sky connected with what it is.
When life flows,
When
the
life-
window opens.
When life force flows, it gives me a sense of power and of joy.
When life force flows, I am present with it and a part of it.
When life force flows, I get the juice out of life.
When life force flows, there's fullness of healing.
When life force flows, I feel energized.
When life force flows, I am enough.
When life force flows, I feel connected to all.
When life force flows, there is a we.
Okay.
When life force flows, I feel immensity, eternity, gratitude.
When life force flows, I feel the dawn.
When life force flows, I see you.
When life force flows, I forgive others. And myself.
Dorothy.
Okay. As Sophie said, a life force about love. This poem is called True Love. I wrote the name and the poet in the chat. It's David White. True Love. There's a faith in loving fiercely, one who is rightfully yours, especially if you have waited for years, and especially if part of you never believed you could deserve this loved and beckoning hand held out to you this way. I am thinking of faith now and the testaments of loneliness and what we feel we are worthy of in the world, in this world. Years ago in the Hebrides, I remember an old man who walked every morning on the gray stones to the shore of baying seals, who would press his hat to his chest in the blustering salt wind and say his prayer to the turbulent Jesus hidden in the water. And I think of the story of the storm and everyone waking and seeing the distant yet familiar figure far across the water, calling to them, and how we are all preparing for that abrupt waking and that calling. And that moment, we have to say yes, except it will not come so grandly, so biblically, but more subtly and intimately in the face of the one you know you have to love, so that when we finally step out of the boat toward them, we find everything holds us and everything confirms our courage. And if you wanted to drown, you could, but you don't, because finally, after all this struggle and all these years, you simply don't want to anymore. You've simply had enough of drowning, and you want to live, and you want to love, and you will walk across any territory and any darkness, however fluid and however dangerous, to take the one hand you know belongs in yours.
Mm. Very beautiful. Thank you, Dorothy. And thank you so much, Sophie.
Thank you.
Thank you to you all. Thank you.
Have a wonderful week, everybody.